Money. It's the holidays are over, and here pretty soon, taxes are going to be due. That terrible April 15th date. And holidays, spending that money, and then the new bills coming in, and there's a lot to think about. And with the resolutions and everything going around, is money part of your thought process there? We're going to be discussing finances and some strategies and some ideas today. You may hear birds in the background, my husband on the tractor, the children playing with the dogs. This is Real Life on the Prairie with Donita Fogelman of prairie-trail.com, weathering the dust storms of life with God's divine help. And I have with me today Danielle Tate, the Sex and Money Missus. I always love that. I just love that. I love your blog and your information that you have on there. Money is not the only thing that you talk about, but that is what we're going to broach today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I am glad to be here and glad to start the new year off with you on your show.
Cool. So the holidays are over. Hopefully everybody did not find themselves in incredible debt.
Yes, that is one of the big things, right? And you mentioned that credit cards are starting to roll in, that 0% interest for 2 years offer that sounded good in November when you were buying the big TV for your honey for Christmas. Now you start to realize that got to make payments on that, because 0% interest doesn't mean that the payments don't have to happen. So yeah, this is kind of rubber meets the road time for a lot of people with their finances. And I always tell my clients and the people that I work with that, when you're coming out of Christmas, the last thing you want to do is think about Christmas, right? Because we just had the parties, and this past Christmas, let's face it, was different for almost all of us. And so we just kind of want to put it behind us. But there's a couple reasons why we shouldn't put it behind us. And one of them is we need to address what just happened. If we're in debt, okay, what are we going to do with it? And then how are we going to go forward from it? And it always surprises people when I catch them off guard when I say, right now, January, you need to be starting to think about Christmas next year already, even though you're maybe regretting some of the expenses you had this past Christmas, right? You need to be thinking about next Christmas too.
I love that. I always like to catch the after Christmas sales. That's a good time to catch like the decorations, the wrapping paper, things like that. Maybe those Christmas sweaters or whatever. Everything's on sale afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Craft stuff. If you homeschool or you've got grandkids that you like to do crafty things with, now's a great time of year to go to the craft stores and pick up like the things that they only have out at Christmas time, and you can get them on sale and tuck them away. And if you have the means to do that, absolutely, because you're going to buy it anyway. If it's something that you're going to use and you have the means to buy it now while it's on sale, go ahead and buy it. And again, that's another reason why planning ahead for Christmas is so important, because you can leverage your money by saving. So if you tuck away, let's say, we'll just use round numbers. Let's say you spent $1,200 this past Christmas. Between everything you had to do, you spent $1,200. That means you need to save $100 a month for next Christmas. Well, if you're putting away $100 a month and you have your $100 allocation in January, maybe you don't buy anything. Maybe you're like, you know what? I have wrapping paper galore. I don't need to buy anything for the kids, grandkids. I don't have any of that stuff. So you just set your money aside. But if you do want to buy that extra stuff, or maybe you're a homeschooler and you want to make sure that you've got, the crafty things and the fun stuff during, Hanukkah to do, or Advent or whatnot, take your $100, head to the craft store and get the stuff that you want because it's on sale, and you're not going to be spending, your grocery money for it. You're setting money aside that you can use and you can leverage that sale. And then, if you have debt from this past Christmas, you do need to address it. You need to look at what you did. You might not be able to pay it all off right away. And I always say, there's you can't condemn yourself. There's no condemnation, right? You can't condemn yourself for what you did, but you have to look at it at face value and move forward from it. So if you spent $1,200 and it all went on a credit card last year, then by golly, you need to start saving for next Christmas so you don't put $1,200 on your credit card next year.
So you're definitely suggesting making the payments, planning the payments on that, but additionally to put that same amount of money basically aside for next year so you don't have the payments hitting you next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to make your debt payments. You owe that. You need to pay it, but you do need to look forward as well. And so, that's why I stress the no condemnation part, because people look at their money and all of a sudden when they realize, oh my goodness, I need to save for next year, but I just spent all this money. And maybe it's not Christmas. Maybe it's a vacation you took. Maybe if you're in a colder climate, you just got back from a trip to, the Bahamas or something. Well, you had this reckoning, like, okay, I need to save for next year, but I just spent all this money.
So is
How do
that buyer's remorse?
it is. It is. It's too late, right? You already have the suntan. You
You've
can't take it
already
back.
done
Kids
it.
are moving all their stuff. Your in-laws returned the crock pot they didn't want, but you've already spent the money. So what do you do now? And you have to look at both sides. And that's where there has to be that balance of, and why planning is so important. Having a plan with all of your money is important, because you do need to pay the things that are due, that have to be paid. And you know what? It might take you a whole year to get that stuff paid off. It might take you 2 years to get this past Christmas paid off, right? But you make a plan, you stick with it, you make your payments, but all the while you're beginning to build up for next Christmas. So it's not a short-term fix, it's a long-term fix, because by a year from now, you can look at your money and say, by gosh, you know what? We did Christmas without debt this year. Like, we did Christmas without debt. We're working off last Christmas, and we didn't get any new debt. And that is your win. Like, you're not going to see it immediately when you start saving the money.
That feels, I just have to say, the whole getting out of debt thing just felt so much better. And I know now we pinch a lot. There's a lot of things that we do without because we don't want to go into debt.
Yep.
But it feels so much better not to have that extra payment every month.
It does. I remember the first time we paid off a debt. So we're going back 10-ish years, 10, 11 years, when we started really working on our finances and honoring the Lord with our money. And we had $25,000 in consumer debt, plus our mortgage, new baby. I wanted to stay home, but at the moment, there was just no way. There was no way we could make that happen that we could see. And so we had all this debt. And when we paid off the first debt, and we had paid off debts before, we had been married like 6 years at that point. So we paid off some debts, but we always paid them off, got new ones, paid them off, got new ones. There was never any finality. And when we finally paid something off, knowing that we were closing that card or closing that loan and it was not coming back in an intentional way, right? I mean, things happen.
Right.
But there was no intention of, well, if we pay the card down enough, we can recharge it. No, we were paying it off. I was calling that company. We were closing that card and it was done. The relief, it was almost a literal relief. And I could stand up a little taller because there was one less thing weighing on me. And until you experience that, it's hard to believe that what it is, but it is such a freeing feeling to know that you've got a plan, making progress, and there's some finality in owing other people money. Like, our life is not about owing other people money all the time.
And it feels good too. I know this last year we had stimulus. We may have, by the time this airs, we may have another stimulus, or definitely the potential there.
Yeah.
And then if you get income tax money back, being able to take that money and not feel like you have to put it on a debt
Mhm.
that you've got, being
Yeah.
able to have some kind of a plan for that.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people, use their tax refunds, or as you mentioned, we might be getting a stimulus check. And if we get that, what do we do with it? Well, a lot of people do have to put it toward debt, which isn't a bad thing if you're working to pay them off. But when you can get to that place where you can use that stimulus money or that refund check and say, wow, like, who can we bless with this? Lord, what do you want us to do with this, to give back? Who can we give to with some of this money? Or is there something else that needs our attention? How many times do we put stuff off? Well, we either pay down the credit card, or we put tires on the car, and we, get all
Oh,
the
definitely. Yeah.
clothing kids are going to.
It's notoriously, let's see, this year, whenever the income tax money, and ours came in really late in 2020,
Mhm.
everybody by that time needed shoes.
There you
And
go.
shoes are not cheap anymore. And that is one thing that I like to have new, or as close to new as possible, because
Mhm.
we really out on the farm and stuff, we need good boots.
Right, right, right.
So taking everybody and go getting a new pair of boots is a big expense.
Mhm.
And then we also, and I consider these investments. I mean, you've got things that you need, if it's tires on the vehicle. This year, we invested in a tower garden, which is an aeroponic garden system that we can
Okay,
actually have in the house.
there you go.
And so we're all excited about getting that going and having actual salad inside, growing on a
And that's something amazing that you can do with like a tax refund, because you're not having to put it to debt. You already did that. You worked to the place where you got your debts taken care of, or they're on their way out the door. And so now you can do some of those things, which are like your goals. Like, what's a goal? Well, we have a family goal of getting this hydroponic garden thing. We have a goal of, turning that land into new pasture, or getting a mobile chicken coop, or, getting a new vehicle. Like, we have these goals that we want to meet. But when we're trying to juggle paying off debt, and we're in that debt cycle, and then we get extra money and we just have to throw it on debt, it's hard to even meet our
or if
goals.
you're even planning to put it on debt and the washing machine breaks or
Right.
something, there's always those extra things
Hmm.
that you're not counting on right now.
Yep.
and,
And
and
that's where having, we'll switch gears just a tad, but that's where having an emergency savings is so helpful, because if the washing machine dies, right, and you have $1,000 saved, you can buy a washing. It's not going to be top of the line talking to your wash machine, but it'll get the clothes clean, and you didn't have to put it on a credit card. And
right.
so that's another option. If you're getting a refund check, or if we're getting stimulus checks and you find yourself not in a position where you have to catch up on bills. And I know there are a lot of people right now that are still struggling with just like, well, my goodness, I'm still working on my electric bill. Then use your stimulus check for that kind of stuff. But
Right.
if you're okay in that regard, then work on your savings account, because having a savings, I always talk about like a safety net, right? Like, we're walking the tightrope of life with our money, and we've got our little pole, and we're trying to get whatever our end goal is. But there's no safety net. And that first level safety net, that $1,000, means that if the washing machine dies, if the refrigerator goes out, or you blow a tire and they're like, well, ma'am, you got to get two front tires. You can't just put one on. You got to get two. Oh, and then we got
Right.
to back them. And it's
Right.
$400 for two tires. At least you didn't put it on a credit card. It's not $400 of new debt. So
Definitely.
think of your tax refund and/or your stimulus check as either a way to help get you out of debt, but not just get out of debt so you can recharge it all up and get back in it, but to get out of debt, in a final sense. Or think of it as a way to help build that safety net for you. And I know it sounds hard. The first year that we didn't spend our tax return on, like, because we always use our tax return for like fun stuff. like, well, that tax return would kind of fund our vacation, which was a good thing because we weren't going into so much debt, but we were still having debt. We were still, and the first year that we took our tax return and said, okay, well, we need, and I don't remember all the numbers, but we need part of it to do our emergency savings. And then the other part of it is going to pay off something. And then it's done. The first year we did that, I was a little apprehensive, like, well, aren't we going to have any fun with our money? Like, we're having all the fun. But
well, and I know we've tried to not have fun. We budgeted ours, and it's like, our family's fun enough, right?
Not having
it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't work, because all of a sudden you are dying for a pizza.
Yep.
And
exactly.
You don't want to make it homemade, and
saying that you're not going to have any fun with your money at all. Like, we're just not going to do anything. We're not going to go out to eat. We're not going to get Starbucks. We're not going to.
It doesn't work.
Fairs this year. We're not doing any of it because we're paying off debt. That sounds really good, but that's the same as saying I'm going on a diet and I'm not having any sugar. Yeah, right. Like,
it's work.
Sugar, right?
Yes,
that's all you want. So you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to, like, you can't. It's not even feasible. You have to plan for that. Like, okay, so we want to have fun. Oh, so we can't go to Cancun, but we could go camping, instead of a $5,000 vacation in summer.
You can buy a fishing pole, maybe, or,
I don't, depending on where you are as a listener. In our state parks, I'm in Pennsylvania, and our parks have camping. It's like couple bucks a night. Like, we went for 10 days. It is, because we went for 10 days and it was like $200. Where do you go for $200? Just like to sleep,
right?
You can't do that. And, so you take a weekend, you do that, or you call your friend that has a fishing pond and you're like, hey, can we spend a weekend camping by your pond? Would you mind? You have to you have to have some kind of fun. You have to have some sense of, I hate the word normal, but you have to have some enjoyment in your life.
It's recharging. That's recharging. If you don't recharge, then you end up being burnt out on what you're doing, especially if you homeschool, and then with the farm, we're tied to the animals and stuff. We've got to have some little things that we can do. We hardly ever get away, because trying to find somebody to take care of all the critters, it's just not likely.
Even to the neighbor's farm, like I said, and camping out by the pond, it can be a mini getaway. You can treat it as a getaway, but you're close to home. You can keep an eye on things. You can go feed your animals. And, I've seen people do like a swap. Okay, well, we'll stay at your place. We're going to bring our we're going to take our camper to your place, and we'll stay at your place, and you can stay in our house, or vice versa. Do you know what I mean? Like, people
right
know well enough that you can do that kind of stuff with. I had clients one time that they traveled through 3 or 4 states just staying with family. Like, they took their camper, but they wanted to keep it as low key as they could, so they stayed at families. And some of their family was going away on vacation, and they were able to stay in their driveway, or stay in the house, and like house sit for them. And that's how they got to take their kids to state parks on this little loop.
That's a wonderful idea. Yeah.
Travel through a couple of different states and take day trips, but it didn't cost them anything as far as overnight expense. And then, of course, if you're at someone's house, or if you're in your own RV or whatnot, you can cook. So their expense was minimal, but they got to still take their kids. And some of it is creativity, right? We've got to get creative with how we spend our money. We can't always think like, okay, well, vacation means I have to pack a bag, get on an airplane. There's so much, wherever you live, there's so much to see where you are that you probably haven't seen. I mean, I'm a Pennsylvania native, born and raised here, and there's still so much of this state that I haven't seen yet.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I was going through a list. We've got a friend that's got a foreign exchange student right now, and she was, he had a list of things in America that he wanted to see, but we're out here in the boonies, so most of that's not, readily available, especially during the situation that we're in right now. And I
Yeah.
started, naming off, well, we've got the Dalton Gang hideout, we've got this, we've got that. And she's like, oh, I didn't even know we had this stuff out here. Yeah, we've got a lot of neat things.
Yep.
The Alabaster Cavern's not far from us. There's only 2 in the world, the way I understand it, one in China and one here. And we've got it. So
Yep.
that's just pretty cool stuff.
Yep. We have
Yeah.
that spending time outside. It's, I mean, we've gone a lot of places. We've done a lot of, when I say traveling, I'm semi-local, but we've done a lot and been a lot of places. But I always find that going like off the beaten path and checking out the park or the nature trail, or like the quaint little town that you just kind of drive through. You normally drive around nowadays, highways are being built around the towns,
Right.
but get off the road and drive through the town, and you'll find like just neat little things to look at or check out. Or we stumbled across a museum in this tiny little town in upstate Pennsylvania. And when you drive through this town, you wouldn't think anything of it. There's like a gas station, a hardware store, and 50 houses. Well, back in the early 1900s, this was like a metropolis, and they have all this historical pictures of how big this town was, and it was a
Wow.
lumber town. In our area, lumber was a big thing back in the day, and tanneries and whatnot. And we learned so much. And even me as an adult, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I never knew this was here. But it was, a huge, like what we would call a city today, with the bowling alleys and the theaters and,
And when
you
you
know,
stop at a place like that and you eat at one of the little restaurants and you visit their little museum and you buy a few neat little things, you're really helping that small town economy
yep,
in those places as well.
yep,
And those little small town mom and pop places needed a lot more than Amazon,
yeah, yeah.
really.
And that is, when we talk about honoring God with our finances. A lot of times we talk about giving or tithing, or getting our debts paid off, which is honoring. But also, how can we honor others, and honor
Right.
God through honoring others, where we can give to the little guy and say, you know what, I appreciate that you are here. When we walked into that museum, that woman was thrilled. Like, she's like, we only get a couple people a month in here. She was thrilled to take us through. She was so proud of what she had done in that museum. And it made her day. It blessed her that we were there spending time from our vacation to listen to what she had to say. And it didn't cost us anything to go through the museum but our time. And yet we learned, we were blessed by it. It blessed her. And I actually ran into her the last time we were in the area at the Dollar General. And she's like, I remember you came to the museum.
Oh, wow. How nice.
It's great.
So, what about birthdays? We have birthdays throughout the
Mhm.
year. And I mean, I know we've got some in January, so it's, I mean, already upon me by the time this is coming out. How do you
Yes,
prepare for that financially?
I treat birthdays just like I do Christmas, because birthdays are the other gift giving event that is predictable, like the Christmas season, because everybody's having a birthday every year. I do think that it is wise to establish a limit for each person that you're buying for. And it can be difficult, especially if your kids are old enough now where maybe you've lavished them, and now you're going to say, okay, well, we're not going to lavish, we're going to have a limit. Or even for nieces and nephews or grandkids, if you used to lavish and now you're going to cut back. But I have to say, the positive opinions of others are not a prerequisite for your success. And if you want to be successful with your finances, it might make some people unhappy for a little bit if you have to say, hey, we've got to cut back a little bit. I mean, it's not because you don't have any money. It's because you're choosing to spend your money in a different way. And that means I want to be able to bless all of my grandkids for their birthday. I want to bless all of you, my children, for your birthdays, but that means that I can't spend $300 on each of you. We need to cut. Otherwise, the kid in January is getting $300 of the birthday gifts, and the kid in September, well, bud, sorry. Here's a
Wait,
lollipop.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you need to have that limit so that you can bless them all.
Well, and that kind of leads to another thing because our children's birthdays are like seasonal, and then
Mm.
our income is seasonal. So it's like one batch of birthdays, we've got the money, and
Yeah.
we caught ourselves doing this in years
Mhm.
past. And the other batch of birthdays, we don't have any money, and we're trying to juggle how we do that. Now that we've got Amazon Prime, we let them pick out a birthday movie.
Mm.
So they'll pick
Yeah.
out like a meal and dessert that they kind of want, and
Fun.
then a birthday movie, and then maybe they get a gift.
Yeah.
They're old enough now that that's okay with them,
Right. Right. Right.
they understand that.
Yeah. And when your income is seasonal like that, that's another reason, another motivation to be planning all year long for things. Because in the season of feast, when you've got, that the crops are coming in and you're getting paid, you're selling your goods, or maybe you're a school teacher. And so, you're getting money around here. Where I live, we've got, the four distinct seasons. And so we have people that are, say, like landscapers and lawn mowing people. Well, that's great April through October, but then in the winter, you're not making anything unless you diversify and you do something else. Well, when that money is coming in, that's when it's important to say, okay, if I've got 5 kids and I want to spend $25 on each of them for their birthday, I need to be setting aside money now, because Johnny's birthday in January, let's say his birthday's coming up this month here, what are you going to do for him if you're not having any income come in? Well, in June, when the money's coming in, take $25, stick it in an envelope with Johnny's name on it so that you have the $25 for his birthday. And you can do that. The nice thing about birthdays is they're going to happen, right? Because the new baby doesn't need a birthday gift. So everybody you're going to buy birthday gifts for. They all get a birthday once a year. So you
Right.
can plan ahead for those. And so I always recommend that even if you have to write it down, okay, I've got 5 kids, I've got 2 grandkids, my husband, I always buy something for my sister. Okay, what's my limit going to be?
Right.
And it doesn't mean you have to tell them the limit, right? Well, you're only getting a gift worth $25. No, it means you have $25 to spend. If you're an amazing, quilt maker person, I don't know, I'm my ignorance, I don't know how much it costs to make a quilt, but if you embroider things and you only have $25 to spend on that person, well, you could probably create something worth way more than $25, but you spent $25, right? And like
Right.
sometimes you feel
Right.
guilty, like,
$25 with fabric or whatever.
oh,
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
I feel guilty, and I think it happens to a lot of people. Like, you feel guilty, like, well, this gift that I'm giving them is worth $100, but I bought it on sale for 60. So should I buy them something else? Well, like, you don't have to. Like, if that's what they asked for and you got a good deal on it and it saved you money in your budget, you don't have to buy them anything else. Like, if
Right.
I say to you, Donita, I want an Instant Pot for my birthday, and you wait, and on Amazon Prime Day, the Instant Pots on, I think this past year they were like $69. Some of them are like, that's
Oh,
crazy
wow.
low. Okay, well, get it. Like, it doesn't matter that it didn't cost you $100. If that's what I want and you were able to get it on sale, perfect. Now save it for me for my birthday. I'm done. Like, you
There
got it on
you
sale.
go.
You
There you
spent your
go.
limit, you so it's another one of those things to say. For the tricky thing with gifts can be the weddings and baby showers and those kind of things, because you don't know when people are going to be getting married. You don't know when babies are going to be born. And so those kind of things fall in that category of planning for the unexpected. Like, you
Okay.
don't know who's going to get married, But if somebody gets married, you're going to spend $50 on their wedding gift. Like, and those things go by, what season of life are you in? If your kids, I know some of your girls, they're, married and
having
you're at that
babies now.
season of life. Yeah, you've got grandbabies. So you're at that season of life where, okay, babies and marriages are in my radar. My son is 10. My niece is doing missionary work. My nephew is just out of college. Like, babies and marriage aren't on our radar right now because they're just not. Like, I'm just not in that season of life. So I don't need to worry so much about planning for baby showers and weddings because I don't have any at this time in my life. So you have to look at what season are you in and what kind of things could come up. And again, it sounds weird, but you're planning for the unexpected. You don't know when it's going to happen. But what's the worst thing that could happen if you say, well, John and Susan, they're pretty close. They've been dating for a while. They might get married. I better tuck some money aside in case they decide to get married. What happens at the end of the year if they didn't get married? Well, guess what? You have 50 extra bucks. Take your spouse out to eat. Do something fun with it for yourself. You're so worse off by saving money.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Definitely. Now, let's see, your website. What's your website address?
My website is danielletate.org. So DanielleTate.org.
Okay. And you've got a course coming up. I mean, you do some coaching and stuff in the financial realm of things. And what do you got going on here pretty soon?
I do. Yeah. So right now I have a debt-free mini e-course. It's free. It's called 6 Steps to a Debt-Free Lifestyle. And it is a free e-course to help you reduce debt, avoid debt, and live free. And so in this free e-course, we go through your defensive plan, your offensive strategy, and we talk about how to have a winning lifestyle so that you can do the things that kind of we talked about here today. How do I avoid new debt, get out of the debt I have, and learn to live without, the lifestyle where I don't have all that weight on my shoulders and all that debt.
I just love that, because sometimes whenever you do finally get out of debt, then you're sitting there, now what?
Yeah. Like,
you're either waiting for the next catastrophe to come on,
exactly. Or like holding your breath. Like, okay, it's like laundry, right? The laundry's all done. Oh, never mind. The debt is all done.
And the dishes, right? And the
But you can employ certain strategies in your life. And so in this 6 steps to a debt-free lifestyle, I walk you through how to begin that process and how to think differently. And you can sign up for that. It's danielletate.org/debt-free course. And you can sign up there to take part of that. Sign up. It starts right away. Comes right to your email, so you can get started immediately if you want to.
And that's a good beginning of the year idea. It definitely is. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. I always enjoy visiting with you. So
thank you. It's been my pleasure. I know I love to get together with you, and I love what you're doing for your readers and your listeners. This podcast is an amazing resource for them. So congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, and remember to subscribe for more of this type of fun if you haven't already, and share and leave a review if this has impacted you in some way. I love hearing from you. And this is Donita from prairiedustrail.com, helping today's pioneer families overcome life's disasters with faith-based principles so they can flex and flourish in homemaking, homeschooling, and homesteading. And remember, you can make it through the dust storms of life with God's divine help.